Okay, so we are looking at our two-step equations homework. And the first thing I'm going to do when I'm looking at solving any equation is I'm going to draw my fence. Remember, if you need to, you can label the side with your variable as your variable side. And the other side is your numbers, because essentially on the left-hand side, we want to isolate that variable, get that r by itself. Next thing I'm going to do is I like to circle my term with the variable. So my term here is r over 10. That's my variable term. And then everything that's not circled, so that plus 4, that's what I'm going to want to move first. So to get rid of that plus 4, I'm going to subtract 4. Subtract 4. Carry down my equal sign. My 4's cancel. Then I'm on the left-hand side left with just r over 10 equals 5 take away 4 is 1. Now it's a one-step equation. Remember, when they're written like a fraction, that operation occurring between those two is division. So then I'm going to undo that division by multiplying by 10. And remember, what I do on one side, I must go to the other side of my equal sign. Therefore, now my 10's cancel and I'm left with r equals 10. 1 times 10 is 10. I can check that by saying 10, plugging in 10 back into my original equation, and I would just do this on my calculator. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 equals 5. That checks out. I'm going to move on down to problem 3. Following the same process, draw my fence, circle my variable term. Now on the outside of my variable term, I have a minus 2. So to cancel the minus 2, I'm going to plus 2, plus 2. Again, on both sides of the equal sign. My 2's cancel. I'm left with just a 3p. I'm going to carry down my equal sign. And now I have negative 29 plus 2. These are opposites, so they're opposite signs. So I'm going to ask myself, what do I have more of, positive or negatives? In this case, I have more negatives, so I know for sure my answer is going to be negative. 29 is greater than 22 by 27. The difference between those two is 27. So I'm left with negative 27. Divide by 3. Divide by 3, because 3 and p, those are being multiplied. Cancel, cancel. And I'm left with p equals, and now I have a negative 27 divided by a positive 3. Remember, if they're opposites, the answer is negative. And 27 divided by 3 is 9, so p equals negative 9. Moving right along to 5. K minus 10 all over 2 equals negative 7. When you have everything over that fraction, the first thing I want to do is clear my fractions. I hate them. So to clear that, it's still like a division problem, so I'm going to multiply by 2. Again, both sides by 2, and I cannot forget my fence. I almost forgot it. Now my 2's cancel, and I just have k minus 10, carry down my equal sign, negative 7 times positive 2. Again, they're opposite signs, so my answer is negative, and 7 times 2 is 14. Now it's just a one-step equation. K is by itself. Or to get k by itself, I have k minus 10. To undo that subtraction, I'm going to add 10. Add 10. 10's cancel. I'm left with just a k on the left side. Carry down my equal sign. Negative 14 plus 10. I have more negatives than I have positives, so going to keep it. My answer is going to be negative. Then the difference between the two, so 14 minus 10 is 4. So my answer is going to be negative 4.
You sing the song, don't you?
7, I have negative 9 plus n over 4 equals negative 7. The first thing I'm going to do is draw my fence. Next, I'm going to circle my variable term. And now what I want to do is I want to move that negative 9. I understand that it's being added to the n plus 4, but I have to keep in mind I want to cancel it, make it get to 0. So to get rid of the negative 9, to get that to 0, I would add 9. And then what I do to one side, I go to the other side and do. Now my 9's cancel, and I'm left with n over 4 equals negative 7 plus 9, positive 9. I have more positives than I have of negatives, so my answer is going to stay positive. 9 is greater than 7 by 2. Now I have n divided by 4 equals 2. To undo that division, I'm going to multiply, multiply, cancel, cancel, just left with n equals 2 times 4. That simplifies down to 8. Lastly, I'm going to do problem 9. I have negative 5 plus x over 22 equals negative 1. Remember, when it's all like a fraction like this, that's division. So I'm going to clear that fraction first by multiplying. So I'm going to multiply times 22 on the left side, multiply times 22 on the right side. I almost forgot my fence again. Do that. My 22's cancel. I'm left with just negative 5 plus x equals negative 22, because that's a negative 1 times a positive 22. If they're opposite signs, my answer is always negative on multiplication and division. And now I just want to isolate x. So to move that negative 5, or to cancel that negative 5, I'm going to add 5, and I'm left with x equals negative 17, because it's a negative 22 plus 5. I have more negatives than I have positives, so I know my answer is negative. 22 take away 5 is 17, to get a final answer of negative 17 equals x.